Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the DeKalb City Council Committee of the Whole agenda for Monday, June 22. This is a unique opportunity tonight to be in our new council chambers, if you will, the Usunis room of the DeKalb Public Library. I'd like to thank Executive Director Emily Faulkner and Chairman of the Board Bill Cummings and the Board of the DeKalb Public Library for working with the City of DeKalb as we move forward in holding our regular City Council meetings at this locale. First of all, I'm going to check before we have roll call to see if our city clerk, Lynn Fazekas, is with us and can hear me. Lynn, are you with us?
Yes, I am, and the audio is fantastic.
Very good. You might want to get a little bit closer to your mic because your voice did not come through real clear to me, but I'm glad that you're there, Lynn. Thank you very, very much. With that, I will indicate, as I do before each and every meeting of the City Council, that is that we welcome public participation. And for anyone who's in the audience who would like to speak to any item on this agenda or any item on any agenda for that matter, please feel free to fill out a speaker request form. They're in the back foyer here at the library. Give that to our Executive Assistant Ruth Scott there in the back, and she'll get it to me. So with that, I'm going to ask each and every one of our City Council members to make sure that you look at the top of your microphone to make sure that you have the little green light on there so that you can be heard. I'm also I've been asked to ask you to do speak into the microphone pretty much like I am, maybe 6 inches away from the microphone itself. So with that, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Morris.
Here.
Finucane.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
McAdams.
Here.
Furbick.
Here.
Favor.
Here.
Mayor Smith.
Here.
I have 7 present.
Thank you very much. The first item on our agenda tonight is the approval of the agenda. If there are no additions or deletions to the agenda, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Verbeek, seconded by Alderman Smith. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Finucane.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Verbick.
Yes.
Favor.
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
7 aye.
Thank you. The agenda is approved as printed. Now we move along to public participation, and I will call for public participation after we announce the one consideration we have tonight, and that's town hall discussion for justice and equality, because both of the folks that have indicated they'd like to speak to that item are under, I have those forms. On Tuesday, June 16th, the city's Human Relations Commission held an extraordinary special meeting to listen to our residents and to identify the principal questions that need to be and can be addressed at the local level. The city staff and city council were witnesses to that passionate discussion. The purpose of this committee of the whole meeting is to provide an opportunity for the widest number of persons to address the city government directly with their concerns, in keeping with the state executive orders regarding how we may safely congregate during the evolving phases of the COVID-19 crisis. As with the Zoom meeting conducted by the Human Relations Commission, the purpose is for city leaders to continue to listen and then to charge themselves with the responsibility and the commitment to act in ways that will build trust, forbearance, respect, and a mutual commitment to justice. Participating members of the public will be asked to limit their remarks to about 3 minutes to maximize the opportunities for all who are interested in speaking. The meeting will last for about an hour, since it leads into the regular bi-monthly meeting of the council. We realize that an hour is not enough, and this town hall format may very well be one of a series to follow until this engagement of various and welcoming ideas leads to a yet defined result that propels us toward a more welcoming place to live and work. So prior to moving on to our number one consideration, and that is the town hall discussion for justice and equality, I would like to indicate to those who are watching us at Zoom and watching us from our room tonight that I do intend to conduct this meeting until about 5 minutes until 6 o'clock. Again, having realized that this may not be enough time for everyone to get on and to speak their piece, but we'd like to have as many of you can, and those of you who may want to speak on the agenda item but do not have the time for whatever reason tonight, we would hope that we would have a continuation of this town hall discussion. With that being said, we do have one online submission of a comment, and we have one person in the audience who would like to speak, and I'd like to ask that person now to move to the podium. That's our Honorable former Mayor John Ray. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Before my prepared comments this evening, I wanted to share some news. Oak Crest tested 473 staff and residents last Thursday for COVID-19. The test results came back today. 100% tests were negative. So good news. I stand before you this evening to support freedom, equality, justice, and peace. My message to the community is there is a need for change. Let our voices be heard. Black lives matter. Demand timely action as a response. Stay involved, sit at the table, watch from the gallery, and act, and vote in November. And to city leadership, listen to the voices. Until real change happens, we will not be quiet. Black lives matter. Take action to improve equity and fairness. Remove the systemic racism from our midst. Listen to the voices. George Floyd. As you listen, you will hear them too. Breonna Taylor. Voices against police brutality and racial injustice, in support of affordable and safe housing, neighborhood services, culturally responsive education, and health care. Speak up to be heard. Rayshard Brooks. The DeKalb community has dealt with systemic racism in episodic fashion. An incident occurs. In response, people get active and vocal, incremental change happens, and people quiet down until the next incident occurs. This setting is different. There's worldwide attention to the need for removing racial injustice and systemic racism in our institutions and society. People from a diverse base are peacefully demonstrating and raising our voices in the need for change and education. Happy Juneteenth. We are not going to be quieted until there is systemic change in our local institutions, public and private. The powers that lead, our public officials, will want to quickly move back to equilibrium. Returning to a quiet and peaceful setting is their goal. It does take energy and persistence to see the systems in society and institutions change. We need to raise our voices to be heard. In the words of the Reverend Dr. Joe Mitchell, know that the work of freedom is not over. Work is plentiful, still to be done. We need to work together. This takes good listening and sincere actions in response to the voices. My words for change in law enforcement are before your Human Relations Commission, and I'm not planning to repeat those this evening, but I thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ray. Appreciate those remarks. Prior to my reading the one public comment submitted online, I'd like to just again remind those who may just be joining us that this is the first meeting in the DeKalb Public Library. For the first time that we have a new broadcast center that's been installed here in the lower level of the library. We respectfully ask for the patience of all participants if any electronic glitches arise with the new broadcast equipment or our format this evening. Our one public comment submitted online is from Carolyn Massey, 3118 Fairway Oaks Drive in DeKalb. And she writes thusly: thank you for the opportunity to comment on item 1F. I want to commend the police department for employing the expertise of the Trauma-Informed Initiative here in DeKalb. I would note that if those services are to be available 24/7, a team will be required to provide that coverage. One person will not be enough, since, as we all know, crisis situations do not necessarily occur on our 9-to-5 schedule. May I suggest, as a model, the team that has been in place in Eugene, Oregon for more than 30 years. It's called Crisis Assistance Helping Out on the Streets, CAHOOTS for short. When a call comes into the non-emergency police fire ambulance call center, the dispatcher refers the call to either uniformed police or the CAHOOTS team, sometimes both. As of 2019, this program has been tweaked to the specific local needs of Olympia, Denver, Oakland, New York City, Indianapolis, Portland, Austin, and Chicago. Last year, of the 24,000 calls responded to by the CAHOOTS team, less than 1% needed uniformed police assistance. And please note that while the CAHOOTS team is not armed or in uniform, no one has ever been seriously injured on a CAHOOTS call. Their team receives 500 hours of training in conflict resolution, crisis counseling, and first aid medical care. Calls concerning homelessness, intoxication, disorientation, substance abuse, mental illness, dispute resolution, first aid, psychiatric problems, addiction problems, poverty-related problems are issues for which they offer assistance. I would hope the City of DeKalb will look into this type of service to support the numerous people who encounter the difficulties and have no one but uniformed police to call. The CAHOOTS team are people trained to speak to those issues. It seems to me that offering a service whose focus is to understand what is happening, and then diffusing those which are potentially volatile would greatly contribute to an improved quality of life for all the residents of our city. Thank you. Signed, Carolyn Massey, Carrie Massey. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, we are now going to move to the Zoom component of our program tonight. And again, bear with us as we see who is on the Zoom line. If you have not already identified yourself to Jason Blumenthal, who is our media consultant tonight, I will ask you to identify yourself with your name so that we know who is speaking. For those of you who are watching on Zoom, you may see a name either alongside or under the name of the individual speaking. So with that, we will go to our first Zoom caller.
I'd like to remind anyone, if you are looking to speak, that you have to raise your hand to indicate to me that you're looking to speak. You can do that by clicking on the participant button on the bottom, and then on the inside, raise your hand is an option. If you're calling in on a phone, click *9, and that will raise your hand. At this moment, I don't have anyone, sir.
Do we have anyone on the Zoom who would like to make a comment? I see we have a number of folks on the Zoom, but no one has indicated or raised their hand or whatever to indicate that they would like to speak at this town hall meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, may I,
Yes. Alderman Morris.
I had someone message me saying they could not find the Zoom session, so can you tell us how we need to do that, or can someone share that? Obviously, the people on the call have already found it, but there are others, it seems, that would like to find it.
If I may, if you can go to the City of DeKalb's website, on the very front page, it'll say agendas and minutes. Click on that button. The very first one on there should be the June 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting. You can click download, and you'll download the agenda. On the top of that agenda, it'll have the information indicating how to enter through the Zoom. There's a URL link you can click if you're on your computer. However, let me get an agenda in front of me, and I can use dial-in number as well. Give me 1 second.
So it's the little blue spot on the agenda that says here. Okay.
Yes, and give me 1 second, and I'll get a dial-in number that can be shared.
I'm going to take the liberty of looking at the screen that I have before me, and I see Courtney Strohacker, you're with us. Amy Levine, you're with us. Let's see, who else is there? I think Herb Rubin was on there. Scott Zach from WLBK. Amy, could you just wave your hand if you can hear me? Okay, good. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we do actually have 2 people now. But
Okay, good. We have 2 people. Thank you, Amy, for helping me through this. Okay, Jason, let's go with caller number 1.
Can I real quick read that number just so people have it, and then give it to them?
The dial-in number.
Yeah, the dial-in number. 312-626-6799. And then the meeting ID number is 836-713-08419. Then click pound. And then you'll hit pound again as there is no meeting password. And then that works. We'll tell you if there's a password in a second on that one. But our first one I have here is Josh Rodriguez, sir.
Hello, Josh.
Okay, thank you. The main thing I was going to say is I don't know if people know how to raise their hand on here. They have to click on participants first, and then they'll see the hand raise button over on the right. So if nobody's raising their hand, I've had a lot of these meetings where people don't know how to run the controls and they don't know how to raise their hand.
Did you have any comment beyond that, Josh?
I did not. I just was hoping that people would know how to access so they could make their comments.
Okay, thank you. And again, we appreciate your understanding about some of our glitches we may be having here early on. Caller number 2, please.
Amy K. Levine.
Amy, hi.
In the last couple of weeks, as we've been having these discussions, one of the things I've seen in this community is horrific, terrible, vicious behavior among other white people. They seem to be afraid of the change and conversation. I'm furious and I'm ashamed, but I've also need to say that what it's pointing out to me is that it's not going to be enough just to make things more equitable for the Black people and other minorities in this community, because these vicious groups can just keep growing. Everybody, whether it's police or whatever's defunded, and citizen groups or social workers, whatever it is, we need to also attend to these people who are interested in white supremacy, hostilities, vandalism, calling people out in unpleasant ways. It's going to take work in multiple ways. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Amy. Thank you very much. Do we have a third caller, Jason?
Not at this moment, sir.
Okay, when we have a break from the Zoom callers, and
I have one.
we do have one, okay, please.
Okay,
Sarah Glenn.
Give me 1 second to unmute you.
Sarah, you should be good. Sarah?
Are we looking for Sarah? And what is the last name?
Glenn.
Sarah Glenn. Sarah, are you with us? Sarah, can you hear me? Okay, why don't we try to find Sarah if you can, Jason? Do we have another call? If not, what I'd like to do is during the break from the call is to turn it over to any member of our city council who would like to have any comments. Again, the primary purpose of the town hall is to hear the folks who call in and Zoom in. But having said that, I want to at least allow, if we have any free time, to see if anybody has any comments regarding of where we were on the 16th. Many of you were there at our meeting the other night at Hopkins Park. We continue to listen, we continue to hear, we continue to try to engage. So with that, any council member care to make any comment? Alderman Morris.
Sure. I'd just like to, if we have the free time, have the opportunity to consider some of the demands that were brought up. As long as no one has raised their hand, it seems like we could be discussing and considering any number of the list of demands, but it looks like, Jason, we've got a hand up now.
We're gonna.
Sarah again, I think she's got it now.
Okay, Sarah Glenn, are you with us?
Sarah,
you're unmuted. Feel free to speak.
Does she have to unmute herself as well?
Sarah Glenn. Okay, any other buddy in the queue, Jason? No? Okay.
Not yet, sir. No.
I'll see if we can have any other comments from any of our city council folks. You certainly were listening or heard about HRC meeting on the 16th. You may have been attending the meeting at Hopkins Park. You perhaps have joined some of the Black Lives Matter groups as they have participated on almost a daily schedule here in the city of DeKalb. Your comments, please. Alderman McAdams.
I'd like to say that I've been looking at the feasibility of each of the individual ideas that have been brought forth, and some of them are easy and some of them are not. The one that I would like to see us work on is a community service group, much like what the public comment talked about. The city of Aurora has a staff of support 24/7, 365. When they get a call in, dispatchers screen for mental illness, and they dispatch those calls to the group. And if they feel that the situation is not secure, they send a uniformed officer with them. And they report that 40 to 50% of the calls on first shift are in fact mental illness issues, and that they rarely have to send the police, and that this system works. So I'd like to look at different programs throughout the country, programs that are already in place, and see if we can implement those. That one seems like it's a doable one here.
Thank you, Alderman McAdams. Is Sarah Glenn with us?
Not that I have
No?
yet, sir.
Okay.
We did see, we've got quite a few new participants, so I would like to once again repeat that, please raise your hand if you'd like to be heard by the city council. To do that, you click on participants, and in the right-hand corner, it'll say raise hand, and you can click that, and that will know to call on you.
Any other comments from city council at this point while we have a pause from our Zoom comments? You know, one person I see who may be on the call is and that's Deanna Cada, the Executive Director of the DeKalb County Mental Health Board. Deanna, I hope you're still there. I just want to thank you for being the host for the last couple of meetings. I know you did it for the county. You also did it for the City of DeKalb and the HRC. Hi, Deanna, how are you doing? And if you'd like to make any comments, you're more than welcome to. If you don't, you don't have to. But from one host to another, hi there. Appreciate your help with us. Good. Any other calls now?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other comments from any of our city council folks? Believe me, I do not want to end this meeting before 6 o'clock. But also I feel that we should try to listen to as many of our Zoom participants as possible. Steve, did you want to say something? I see Steve Capitan, a regular at our DeKalb City Council meetings and a former alderman. Thank you, Steve, for your service. I've seen you in the grocery store, and you've bent my ear many, many times, sometimes for much too long. So I'll give you your 3 minutes if you have any comments.
Well, it's been a few weeks, few months since I've been to the city council meeting. I did make a couple of suggestions to the Human Relations Commission, and what I suggested was that the city look into the prospect of individual liability insurance for police officers. I don't know if the legality of that would require licensing. I know the governor said that he was considering licensing. Those two might go hand in hand. So that's the other thing to look into, the possibility of licensing individual officers. We license hairdressers. And I think that when an officer has the responsibility and the authority to deprive someone of their liberty and ultimately, in some cases, their life, I think that that's something that we should be looking at.
Okay.
I'd also recommend that the council Google, and I don't have the link, but I can send it to y'all. NPR's program, Hidden Brain, discussed the research on implicit bias. It was very interesting. It'd be very worthwhile for the council and members of the city staff to tune that or pull that up online. It was on this week, over the weekend. So,
Thank you, Steve.
thank you.
Mayor Jason.
Jason.
I have a Jennifer
First, tacos.
Jennifer?
Hi, I'd just like to, Carolyn started to speak and
Hi.
you never got back to her.
Would you repeat that, Jennifer?
Hi, Carolyn started to speak and you never got back to her, and I'd like to hear what she had to say.
I can say what I had said before.
Yes.
Before I had said that I think that in the absence of public comments happening, that we as a council should consider the already presented demands of the Black Lives Matter groups, and we should discuss them. So that was my recommendation. Whether or not any other council member wants to speak to that and say, yes, let's discuss, or no, let's not discuss, that is their prerogative.
Were you speaking about the public comments that were being indicated during our last HRC meeting?
No, I'm referring to at the town hall meeting, not an official town hall meeting.
Oh, I see,
At
okay.
the Thursday night event held by Black Lives Matter, they publicly made a number of comments, and I understand it is not the same definition as public in the sense that we are right here, but there are a number of considerations that we could discuss, and I have some questions if no one else has anything else to say.
Jason, do we have another caller?
Yes, sir. We have Herbert Rubin.
Okay, Herb Rubin, hello.
I'm muting myself, okay? Okay, whoops. Okay, can you hear me?
We can, Herb.
Okay. You can?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because the unmute went on. I mainly have some procedural comments. First of all, and I'm very glad that you're running this sort of meeting. Several of the aldermen are not exactly paying attention to what you said, and they're moving back and forth to the microphone and then fading. That could be a Zoom problem or simply not being next to the microphone. Okay. Secondly, on this particular Zoom session, there is no chat. At least I see no chat operationalized, and that's very useful to send messages to the host when there are technical problems going on. I'm not talking the substance yet, but two comments. I'm in at least one group, and I'm sure there are a whole bunch of other groups in town that are working on their own response, including ideas and how to implement some ideas. And I would really suggest that the council at some point set up another town hall meeting to receive the group ideas. We have a whole bunch, but we have not yet formulated them in a written form. It'd be nice to be able to present them in public. And then a question, when will you receive the HRC report, and then how will that be handled? Again, I think that would be a very good thing to have maybe a public meeting on, or a public hearing on. I'm not talking substance yet, simply because I'm part of a group and we have not yet worked out everything that we want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Yes. I'm going to turn it over to our city manager, Bill Nicholas, who has a response to either that comment or others.
I'll just comment on, I guess just answer Herb's question, one of the last questions. When will the council receive the HRC's recommendations? And that will be on the 13th of July. The HRC meets on the 7th of July, and that'll give us a couple days to put together the recommendations for the council's review before the council agenda has to be published that week. And there'll be recommendations from the HRC. There'll be comment from members of the community if they want to do so, and also from the staff.
Thank you. Jason, we have another call.
Yes, we have Bessie Chronopoulos.
Our former mayor, Bessie Chronopoulos. Hi, Bessie.
Bessie, you're unmuted.
Bessie Chronopoulos. Bessie, are you with us, or can you hear me? Okay, we'll get back to Bessie when we can find her.
We have one more, sir.
One more, yes, Jason.
This is Mark.
Would you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, this is Mark. Hello. Welcome, council, and everybody watching. I'm glad we're having this meeting and multicasting this, if you will. Point of order, and this question may be for Jason. Zoom meetings have the capability for the end user to record such meetings in real time. I'm aware these meetings are posted later on after the fact, or one could hold the camera to their screen, but Zoom technology does allow the end user to record these meetings if the host of the meeting allows it. And in the spirit of open government, I would suggest going forward that if we do continue to use these Zoom meetings, that access be allowed instantly. So just a point of reference there. Secondly, I would really like to hear comments from the entire city council. We've heard a lot of comments from the general public over the past few weeks at various meetings, Hopkins Park, of course, the HRC meeting, but there are some council members we have not heard from. We've heard from Alderman Morris, we've heard a little bit from the mayor and Mr. McAdams, but I would really like to have some comments and hear some discussion from each member of the city council, in particular, of all the points that are raised, which points do you all think that we should go forward with and can implement right away, and how we go about doing it? Those are my comments for now. Thank you very much.
Okay, was it, Mark, was that Mark Sharvat?
That's my guess here. He muted himself, sir.
Was that Mark, was that Mark Sharvat?
Yes, it was, Mayor.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure that that was Mark.
Go back to Bessie Chronopoulos.
We sure can. Bessie Chronopoulos. Bessie, are you with us?
Best.
Does she have to unmute as well as you, unmuting her?
I don't think so.
Okay, we're still trying to locate Bessie Chronopoulos. While we do that, what I'd like to do is to encourage folks who are looking for research and looking for what it is that we do as a city council to look at some of the background information that is provided on all of the agendas that are published online and off of our website. I know that our city council certainly appreciates the background that our city manager provides. But for example, for this meeting tonight, this Zoom town hall, a lot of background was given on police policies and procedures, on shared principles, on racial intelligence training for law enforcement and public service professionals, on officer accountability body cams, on the use of force involving a firearm, on counseling services as a plan of police department resources, on no-knock warrants, on demilitarizing the police department, on the Citizens Police Academy. All of this information was provided on our background off of our website, and it is very, very insightful, and also it provides good fodder for further discussion, not only by our folks in the community, but for this city council. Alderman Verbeek, you wanted to make a comment.
Thank you. I would like to do everything within our authority toward eliminating injustice. I certainly second Alderman Morris's idea to review the list of demands, but more importantly is what are those actionable items that we can build together. Again, that will take a community to build those items and to set measures, set goals, have an idea of how we're doing as a community. Certainly, the backup material will need to engage our police department. We need to know what is possible, what is in our authority to work as hard as we can toward, again, eliminating injustice.
Thank you, Alderman Verbeek. You know, I had an opportunity the other night at Hopkins Park to join a number of other elected officials as we listened to some of the comments from an array of folks on this matter. The meeting was sponsored by the Black Lives Matter organization, and I commend them for working along with the Park District to give us the opportunity. I was asked to say a few things, and it was clear that what I was trying to do that evening at Hopkins Park did not resonate with the audience. I appreciate that, I respect that, and it was clear that those comments, even though they were from the heart and they were trying to show the human side of the mayor of the city of DeKalb as it relates to these issues, it was not close. It was the closest time that I've ever been booed off a stage. Now, Having said that, the next day I had a radio show on WLBK and I talked to Terry Ryan and I said, Terry, I was a stronger mayor after I left Hopkins Park. One of the reasons was that I spent another hour after the close of that meeting and I chatted with a few of the folks, including a couple of the detractors on my comments. And I felt very, very emboldened, if you will, following my talking with them and appearing there at the Black Lives Matter town hall meeting. I felt stronger. I'm a stronger mayor today than I was a week ago. Certainly I was a stronger mayor when I left Hopkins Park as opposed to when I left Hopkins Park. And I just wanted to make those comments before we have another Zoom call. Yes, Jason.
I believe Bessie's ready. If not, we have another person, so I'm going to try unmuting Bessie here. Bessie, can you hear us?
Bessie Chronopoulos, can you hear us?
Bessie? All right, well, I'll mute her. We have one other.
Okay, you have another one, Jason?
Yes, JJ Wett.
What was that?
JJ Wett.
JJ Wett. JJ, hi.
Hi there, see the council and Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank you guys for taking this time to listen. I just want to, clarify that, this whole racial injustice is not just about police brutality. Racial injustice includes economic justice, healthcare justice, as well as educational justice. And so I encourage you to look at racial justice not through the lens of just police brutality, but also through the lens of all the other justices and injustices that have occurred throughout the centuries in our country. And I encourage you to try to fix all of that within the upcoming budget. So, thank you.
Thank you, JJ. Thank you for your continued participation as we work to improve our community. Jason, anyone else?
I'd like to try Sarah Glenn again. I know she had asked. So give me one
Okay, Sarah Glenn, are you with us?
Can you hear me now?
Hi, Sarah. Yes, we can hear you. Please, your comments are most
Sorry.
welcome.
I had trouble with my microphone and I couldn't tell you on the chat. I was on the HRC meeting a week ago, and when we looked at the police contract for 2020 to 2022, we noticed that there's an expunging of disciplinary measures from the record, and we were concerned about that. So I just wanted to see if there was something we could do about that. That's it for me.
Okay, any comments? If not, is Bessie Chronopoulos with us? Bessie?
Bessie, you're
Bessie, can you hear us? Okay. With that, I will again ask any of our city council folks, our mayor, our city manager, are ready to do that. Do we have another one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please.
We had Irene Rubin. I don't know if that was intentional, but it looks like Irene, I unmuted you. Did you want to speak?
Yes, I did.
Hello, Irene. How you doing?
Can you hear me?
We can, Irene. Thank you.
Okay. There's been a state Supreme Court decision on whether the unions, police unions, can negotiate about expunging their record for abuse of powers. And the decision went with the cities and not with the police unions. So it is no longer legal for unions to specify how many after how many years their records can be expunged. That problem has been solved on the state level, fortunately. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene, I appreciate it. Now I look at this screen here and I think I see Bessie Chronopoulos. Bessie, can you see us here? Take your...
Bessie, can you try give, if you can hear us?
Yeah, Bessie, can you hear us? I can see Bessie very, very vaguely there on the screen. She is off of mute, so we ought to be able to hear her.
Bessie, can you waving?
No. Any other calls?
Okay.
Mayor, we have Josh Rodriguez again would like to speak.
Who was that?
Josh Rodriguez.
Okay. Scott?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, Josh, I'm
I
sorry.
did see
Josh.
Bessie giving a thumbs up in the participant thing. And I thought would be a good idea to slowly give out the phone number again. If anybody is having trouble with their microphone, to be able to call in. So just a couple of suggestions, that's it.
I also have not been able to find the link on the committee of the whole agenda. At the very last page? So,
Okay.
gotcha, thank you.
This is a very participative Zoom meeting tonight. But believe me, I am so enthused by not only the diversity of comments tonight, but by the fact that we've had the opportunity to hear from a number of folks personally and a number of folks on Zoom, and we have another one.
We have somebody by the name of Amber. Amber, if you could identify yourself, and I believe I allowed you to unmute.
Hi, Amber, if you would give us your name, please, and any comments you'd like to make.
Hi, my name is Amber. Sorry, my camera is malfunctioning right now, but I've been on a couple of the meetings and following all that's going on. I do have one suggestion to go along with the other suggestions I've heard, or problem that I see. There is the co-policing initiative between NIU and DeKalb Police Department. I've looked over the agreement that I was given via FOIA, and it seems it is completely missing the any liability provision that's required by the Illinois statute. So I'd like the city manager or attorney to look into that, because it's leaving us wide open for liability. It doesn't assign liability to either NIU or DeKalb PD. And the statute requires that clause be in there, and it's not. I see that as a huge issue, and it needs to be addressed. So I do hope that somebody will look into that and add the required verbiage of liability clause.
Thank you, Amber. Appreciate those comments. Do we have any other, Josh? Do we have any other Zoom participants? Jason?
Yes, sir. Jennifer Stamatakos again here.
Jennifer, hi, once again.
I'm actually, for someone else, Katie is trying, she would like to speak, but she can't find how to raise her hand, so I'm talking to her elsewhere so I can let you know that she.
Is she the one?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Katie, I believe I just sent you.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi, Katie, yes.
Hello?
Hello, Katie, please.
Hello?
Hello.
Katie, we can.
Can
I
you
can
hear
hear
me,
you.
Katie?
Feel free to speak.
Feel free to
Okay.
make your comments. Thank
Well,
you.
first I wanted to say thank you for doing this, and, thank you for listening to the demands. I do think that it's important that we continue these talks, and I know you will, but you need to look at the entire picture and not just little pieces. And I think JJ mentioned that. But if you could, I don't know if it's possible, but if you could explain why you cannot address some of these, because I know you said, which I knew this was going to happen just because of all of the things involved. But if you could explain why you can't share information on some of them. You said some of them will be easy to do, some of them won't be. But if you could explain why some of them won't be, that I think would be helpful. And then I just have one personal, I guess, demand, for as much as I can say that word. I'm really bothered by the police department being directly across from the Center for Black Studies. I had a problem with that from day one when it was built there. That said, I think that we need to look at the name on the building because it says DeKalb Police Headquarters, which to me is intimidating, and I'm white. You know, that word to me is like, it sounds like we're in Miami or Chicago or LA. It's intimidating. And then on top of the intimidation for the police department, just going into the police department is intimidating. It's not a place of welcome. You know, we want to help you. It really gives you this vibe like there is this divide. Exactly what we're feeling right now between the police and the community. So I think that that needs to be addressed in itself, but the name and the entryway. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and that's all.
Thank you for your comments, Katie. We appreciate those. Yes, we have another Zoom call.
Yes, it's
Mark Charvat.
I'm going to help out Bessie because I have her on speakerphone, so I'm going to put Bessie on speakerphone. Boy, this is very technologically challenged here. And Bessie's going to talk to you, okay? So stand by. Hold on.
Okay, Mark, we appreciate your...
Okay, Bessie, you're on speakerphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
sort of.
Yeah, Bessie, we cannot hear you.
Okay, Bessie.
Okay.
Can you hear Bessie?
No, we cannot.
It's sort of.
No.
Try a different spot here.
Bessie.
One more time, Bessie.
Okay. We'll make this the last time here. Can you hear it?
That works.
Okay, Bessie, we can hear you.
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I'm sorry. I'm not technologically challenged here. This is my second time Zooming, and I'm not very good at it. But I think what you're doing here is very good. Let's keep it up. As Herb had mentioned before, let's continue having these kinds of sessions. And I've posted, I don't know if they'll accept, on the Black Lives Matter Facebook page, the HRC mission. There's a spot on the website where it clearly states the various missions that the HRC could do. I've often thought that that would be the body that could be the catalyst to help the council with our situation here and to get everybody involved. So if you would kind of concentrate on that, you've got a built-in mechanism there to help everybody. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It sounds like we've gotten the Bessie Chronopoulos stamp of approval. And whenever we can do that, hey, we're very, very appreciative of that. It's almost 5 to 6, and I'm going to close this, suggest we close this, adjourn this meeting of this town hall. It's been just an excellent session. Greg, real quickly, you got a minute.
Could I have one moment to comment, Mayor? I guess listening to all this input, all the input's fantastic. My big question is once we accumulate all the input, then what? Then what do we do? Then how are we going to do it? And I guess that's the one thing that I'd like to understand a little better is what's the path forward once we gather the input? How do we boil down all these thoughts to the most important ones that are actionable? Because that's one of the things I've heard pretty consistently is there's been lots and lots of talk for lots and lots of years, but when are we going to start, when and what are we going to start doing? And I'm not determining what the doing is, but I think that's my big question.
And I think, as I had indicated at the beginning of the meeting, Alderman Perkins, this is probably just one of several town hall meetings like this. And then we've got to digest, we've got to synthesize those. We've got to put those together and decide what items are manageable, are doable, whatever, as a city council in terms of policy. Because that's what we're up here for. We set the policy, we give that policy to our city manager, our city staff, and expect them to carry it forward. And so, believe me, I thought this was just a great meeting tonight. I appreciate everybody's support. This has been our first town hall discussion for justice and equality as a committee of the whole. For some of you who may not be aware, Governor Pritzker did sign a new legislation, Senate Bill 2135, within the past week, which means that each vote, we cannot have an acclamation vote anymore. Even when we adjourn a meeting, we must have it by roll call. So I'm going to ask our, first of all, a motion to adjourn, a second, and then Clerk Fazekas, I will ask you to call the roll for an adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Committee of the Whole?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Favor, seconded by Alderman Verbeek. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Madam Clerk, if you could accept the unmute.
Sorry. Alderman Fanouken.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic.
Yes.
Favor. Alderman Favor.
Yes.
Morris.
No.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
7 aye, 1 nay.
Thank you very much. We've had a motion, and we've had the roll call vote, and this meeting of the Committee of the Whole is adjourned. We will begin our City Council meeting at 6:05. 6:05. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. Mike, did you weigh in on?
I'll go
7:50.